Hi, my name is Deana McMillion, and I'm a certified master gardener with Santa Barbara County. We're here in my garden today to talk about growing succulents, the ease and versatility of growing them, using them in your landscape to provide interest and to reduce water dependency, and we'll even talk about propagation. So why grow succulents? Well, for one thing, they're easy to grow, they're beautiful, and you're creating a sculptural landscape rather than just a flat, dry lawn. In my garden, I've created this tapestry of beautiful colors and shapes. And look at these flowers. These last for months. There's no pruning, no deadheading, no real water necessary. So the first thing that you want to do when you're deciding to start your project is decide what your goal is. Now, I knew for me, the first thing is that I wanted to remove my lawn so that I could save water. But that seemed really scary in the beginning. So I started off by creating a succulent pocket garden, just a small area that I could concentrate the plants and decide which plants I liked, how well they responded to the light conditions and the lack of water, because my goal is to have a dry garden and not use irrigation. Another thing that you have to determine is the placement of the plants. So when choosing placement for your succulents in the garden, what I like to do is I like to bring my plants right out in the pot and just kind of place them around in areas so that I get a kind of a feel for what they're going to look like. Is the height right? Is the color right? Is the placement right? So that I can walk around it for a few days or sometimes for a few weeks. So now that we've talked about how we're going to plant our garden, let's talk a little bit more about the plants and propagation, or how to get free plants. So just about all of the plants that you see in this area, in this segment, are plants that I started from cuttings. Once your garden is established, even though you don't have to prune, I call it cutting pruning. So I can go around the garden with my clippers and clip off little pieces that I can then put in pots and propagate and share with others. Because that's the whole fun about succulents anyway, is that you can share them. Here's a box of things that I went through in my garden. Some of them maybe didn't look as good. I cleaned up. You know, this one maybe didn't like where I had it growing. So I pull it out. Doesn't mean I'm going to throw it away. It looks a little rough, but I can still put that in a pot, put it in my nursery, and in no time it could come back. Here's a jade plant cutting. It was just getting a little bit long. I cut that now, and all I have to do is put it in a pot, and I'll show you how easy that is. So this particular aeonium has gotten quite long. So I'm not going to be able to plant this in the garden like this. So I know it's hard, but get your clippers out and clip it down about 1 inch above the soil line. Just do a nice clean clip and set that aside in your nursery. And in no time, you're going to have brand new pups. So here's an aeonium that I cut, I think maybe about 8 weeks ago. And look at all of those brand new babies. Then clip off the stem, clip off your rosettes. Now you can put them aside and wait till later, or you can go ahead and just put them right in the soil, nice and close down in. And those will root and be new plants in no time flat. So here's another example of a different variety of aloe and how the plantlets grow. So you can really see they grow right on the stem of the mother plant. And now this one, this was a cutting that someone gave me. So now I'm going to create a dozen at least new plants from this. So you just, once you have it out of the ground, it's so much easier just to go in and pull these little pups off. They're called plantlets, but in the nursery world, we like to call them pups. And we just pull them off. And so now all of these little plantlets are ready to be planted in new pots. And the mother plant will also just stick it right in the ground and it'll grow and make more pups. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about soil. Before we plant up our cuttings, we've got to make sure that they have the right place to thrive. And that's in a beautiful, fast draining soil. Now, succulents love to grow but they don't like to sit in water. So you're going to want a good 50-50 mix of a nice organic mixture and something like a pumice or maybe a gravel to make space and air in the. So I just add a little bit of pumice. Even if you buy already pre-mixed cactus and succulent mix, I always like to add a little bit more of the pumice. And then you recycle your old nursery pots. Fill it up. You don't want it to get leggy, so see how this has gotten real long? All I have to do is break it off and place it in the soil. And it's as simple as that. Okay, let's talk about those broken off leaves now. When I'm working in the garden, I don't have time to stop and deal with every little thing. So I usually just take them and I throw them in a little pot and I stick them under my workbench and I go back to them on another day. So today, I'm going to go through all the leaves that I've been saving up and see if any of these are ready to place on some soil. Oh, look at this. Here's one that's already started growing. Probably can't see, but some of these even have roots already. Little plants have already started growing on these leaves that I threw in here a few weeks ago. Okay, so really, here's a few that I placed on the soil, and they're already have gotten this big. So this is the original leaf before it started growing the new plant. And the new plant uses the nutrients in the leaf to live on. And then once it gets a little bit bigger, then this will shrivel up and drop away. And you can see little roots here. And then this is plenty big enough to now stick in your plot and start a new plant. So I hope you've enjoyed your little peek into my garden, and you've learned some new things today, and I've inspired you to go out and get maybe your first plant. We'll see you in the garden.